Right, hey guys, and welcome back. I know it has been so long since I last uploaded a video, and I'm really sorry about that. So basically, I was away to hike up Mount Kinabalu. It's a mountain that's on the side of East Malaysia, which is a state called Sabah. The mountain is about 4,000 plus meters tall. It's about a 2 day hike. It's a total of like 6 plus another 2.8, another 3 kilometers. So it's about 9 kilometers worth of a hike. And the temperature is really cold up there. It goes down to like -5 to -10. And then at like the base camp, it's like at 10 to 15. But the foot of the hill is really hot. It's usually around 20, 21, which is decent weather for hiking. Regardless, it was a great experience hiking up Mount Kinabalu, and I really needed to commit myself to the last few days of mental focus and training so that I do my best in the hike. And to be honest, it was not that difficult of a hike. I really expected the worst. Like I expected myself to like not even be able to move. But thankfully, thanks to the endurance training that I have done over the years, of course, it's not something that you could just do, overnight or something. You need to have like a certain level of stamina. But anyway, more on that perhaps in another video. For those of you who like hiking, those of you who like to explore mountains and beautiful sceneries, I'll leave that aside. So I came back and I had to catch up with like a few different films. So I went and watched like 2 or 3 movies, and I will probably follow up with some videos on that later. I know it's late, so you guys probably watched like everyone else's reviews before mine. But regardless, I just decided I had to do this first because wow, this was a fantastic film. I thoroughly enjoyed this movie, Godzilla, King of the Monsters. Man, this was what I wanted. This is everything I wanted from a Godzilla film. Except, of course, there were some things in the film that were really bad. I'm not gonna like lie. The human characters of the film were very awkward and cheesy, and it's kind of cringy to a point. But regardless, the directors actually like put in so much attention to these monsters that I was actually glad to watch this kind of a monster movie, which I have not had in a long time. I can't remember when was the last time I actually watched a good like monster movie. I think the previous King Kong and the previous 2014 Godzillas were okay, but in this film you actually get a lot more monster, which I was really happy about. And before I watched this film, I read through some of the like non-spoiler reviews, and people said that, oh, there is a very mixed. Like some people said that there wasn't enough Godzilla, and some people said that there was too much Godzilla. And honestly, too much Godzilla is a good thing, like for me. So I don't know about you guys, but being like a fan of like fiction and science fiction and all these monster movies and stuff, I thoroughly enjoyed this film. Now let me just tell you, I'm not the biggest Godzilla nerd out there, but I do know some of my backstory stuff. So I have certain knowledge about who these other monsters were when I saw them in the trailer. So I know Mothra. I didn't know Rodan as much. I think Rodan is like was introduced a little bit later. Not very familiar, but Mothra has had several films where like it's titled after Mothra itself, and of course Ghidorah being Monster Zero. Wow, my God, I think this is the best version of Ghidorah like anywhere ever that I have ever seen. And honestly, it is probably the best villain monster I have ever watched in a film. This version, this creation that they have made, this Ghidorah is truly unholy to a point where it's so amazing that you just don't want, like, you can't get enough of it. Ghidorah is just was the best part of the entire film. And right behind Ghidorah was, I mean, of course, Godzilla had his best moments, but for me, Mothra, because Mothra had like so few scenes in the film. Mothra probably had like 3 or 4 actual scenes of Mothra doing stuff or people seeing Mothra. But whenever Mothra came in, they felt like the best part of the film. Like they felt like there's this cool, beautiful little thing, this cute little creature that's supposed to be one of the most powerful beings on all of Earth. It's like the queen of the monsters basically. She's like an immortal goddess that's ever reborn to protect the earth. And that's what Mothra really is if you read the lore. And in this film, the tune, the atmosphere they created for every Mothra scene was amazing. And Rodan didn't get that much to show, but Rodan had one of the best entrance scenes in the film because he just flies out of like this volcano and then just causes havoc. So I'm going to be talking spoilers throughout. In case you guys haven't read the spoiler in the title, so I'm just going to emphasize that. So spoiler alert one more time, and so yeah, let's get to it. So the film starts off with us meeting this really dumb human characters, where apparently there are these parents, this father and mother, and a child. Hang on, let me just get out these names for you guys so that I know what I'm talking about. Otherwise, you guys are gonna rage in the chat. So let me check full cast. Yeah, there we go. All right, so this is guy called Mark Russell, Mr. Russell, and then there's Mrs. Russell, and apparently they got divorced or something over a stupid issue about losing their son. I mean, if you're losing your son in a mishap, I understand that people go through a lot of stress and what do you call that, like post-traumatic stress and all these kinds of things, but I don't understand why they separated from that point because the film never really spoke about what their disagreement was. Because it seemed it basically just the only thing that kind of indicated that was that Mrs. Russell wanted to protect the monsters and Mr. Russell just wants them all dead. But Mr. Russell is kind of a wildlife lover because he's like his introduction is basically him like doing this National Geography footage or something about like a bunch of cheetahs. Of course, he's not working for anyone; he's probably just doing it for himself. But there's no mention of what exactly he does or work for. But apparently, he can do everything because throughout the film, this Mr. Russell knows like everything about there is to do with Titans, with like radio frequencies, military stuff, science stuff. He knows everything. This guy does literally everything in the film. He's like, like the Superman of this film. But regardless, they definitely pumped up the knowledge base of the main character because I guess the previous film had like a somewhat flat main character, and I guess people were complaining about it. So they just bumped it up, and Kyle Chandler acts as Mr. Russell, and he's charming on his own. He did a great job, but I felt that the human characters overall, the cast was great, but their dialogues and their acting was not so good. And then Vera Farmiga acted as Mrs. Russell, also a fantastic actress. Regardless, the performances were still very bad, and the choices were very dumb. This movie is definitely not winning any Oscars for character performances or whatever because the actors were just very bad. But I felt that perhaps if more personality were given to the monsters, that could have helped that kind of balance things out. Because these monsters, they're tried to be shown as formidable, right? They want to show them fierce, they want to show them scary, monstrous, and all these things. But they don't have much of a face for you to like look at expressions. So we still rely on the human characters. And half of this film, sorry, not half, actually like 70% of the film are human characters talking, explaining stuff, and doing things. But their choices were so bad. So for that, like this movie was really bad in that sense. But regardless, that's not what it's about. This is about Godzilla, right? Okay. So anyway, these parents and they have a daughter. They lose a son at the start of the film, and apparently the Mrs. Russell creates a device known as the Orca, and it can apparently create this high frequency sound waves that can communicate with the Titans. They create like an alpha frequency, so the Titans actually listen and understand to the alpha. So similarly, they will listen and understand the device, which is the Orca. And this orca thing, orca literally means killer whale, which is it's a kind of dolphin actually. It uses these high frequency sounds to communicate in ocean waves. I guess it's named after that. Probably stands for something anyway. And then we have Ken Watanabe returning as Dr. Ishiro Serizawa. This guy is fantastic. Every scene that he is in, he captures the moment, the limelight, and whatever he says. I mean, of course, they didn't give him the best dialogues, but regardless, he did his part really well. I felt, and his expressions, his moments of him. He dies in this film, by the way. So the moments where he will like try to go and save Godzilla and then sacrifice himself, you can actually feel those things quite well, and I felt that him being Ken Watanabe actually kind of carried a lot of that weight because of how well he portrays himself on screen. And then we have this other doctor, I don't know which one was it, Chen. Her name was Chen, right? Dr. Chen or something. And she's supposed to be the researcher also working together on the team. So this team are like, they have a name for themselves. I forgot. What was it? They had like a unique Monarch, right? Monarch, yeah. So the name was Monarch, and Monarch is the organization that kind of controls these titans. They kind of keep track about things. They were originally designed to like get rid of the titans, but apparently later on they started to do research on titans and found ways to like coexist with them. So their advice is that we can't go against these titans. Instead, we should learn how to live with the titans, because the titans were the original rulers of the planet. So it starts off with this kind of concept, right? And then what happens is, it turns out that this Mrs. Russell had like an evil plan that she plots, and she tries to join this evil organization. Forgot the name, but this evil organization, what they want to do is they are trying to like use the Titans to eradicate most of the world's population to kind of restore the natural order, because apparently humans are fighting among themselves too much, pollution, all of these things, and the Titans apparently kind of reset everything. So they're kind of creating mini apocalypses. That's what their idea is. So there's this guy, Charles Dance plays him. Charles Dance is the one who acted as Tywin Lannister in Game of Thrones. He comes as this Mr. Allen, and he apparently is like an eco-terrorist. So he believes that releasing these titans will restore the world order or something. So he works with Mrs. Russell, and they use the Orca to kind of awaken one of the greatest things that I have watched in cinema, which is Ghidorah. Monster Zero, my god, that thing, when that thing came out with its theme, if you guys haven't heard its theme, you guys seriously should. Ghidorah's theme is made by Bear McCreary. Most of the themes of this film, the music in this film is made by Bear McCreary. If you guys don't know him, he made the music for God of War, um, I think The Last of Us, and I'm not really sure what else. But his soundtracks from God of War were amazing, which is why when I heard that it was him and I found out it was him, I was like, oh, no wonder the music was so good, because every music in this film was so memorable. And Ghidorah's theme, my god, it has this Buddhist chanting in the background. If you guys don't know what it is, you guys can Google it up. It's called the Heart Sutra, which is basically what the Buddhists chant when they want to go into nothingness or emptiness. So it's a kind of chant to say that everything goes to nothing. The body is nothing, the mind is nothing. It's like zero, and it was the perfect way to like build up the theme for Monster Zero, being the fact that Ghidorah is literally going to turn everything into nothing when he's going to appear. And his appearance scene was fantastic. The design of Ghidorah was amazing. And then Godzilla is being introduced, where he's like hibernating in this area, and then they have like created a laboratory to study him, and he gets triggered by the fact that Ghidorah is awake, so he swims across the ocean to Antarctica. And then they have like a quick fight where Ghidorah gets the upper hand because Godzilla probably was too shocked to face this threat so soon, and then Ghidorah just kind of overpowers Godzilla, and then when the US military arrive, Ghidorah takes off. So that's another funny thing about this film, is that the only military in this film is the US military. I understand that's the same as every film, but I mean, regardless, Is surprised that they didn't come up with like an international military collaboration or something, the same way they have Monarch, which is, international, supposedly international, because I only saw like two or three kinds of races. But hey, I mean, diversity is a whole other thing. Regardless, what I meant was we didn't see other countries actually responding or communicating with them to kind of say that this is a global scale threat. But regardless, I guess the scope of the film was more centered to certain specific countries, so we got to mostly see the US. But that's okay. So then, what happens is Ghidorah starts to take off to the sky, and he creates these large storm clouds out of his own powers and abilities. So Ghidorah conjures this, like, what, class 5 or class 6 storm, or what they call it. It's like a hurricane storm that's swooping over countries, and then later they figure out that Ghidorah didn't disappear into the storm. Ghidorah created the storm, and then Godzilla, travels back somewhere else. So oh yeah, I missed out something actually important. The film starts off with the introduction of Mothra being born as a worm, and then later on, Mothra goes to cocoon itself under a waterfall somewhere nearby. So Mothra's transformation was quite fast. I think it happened within like what 3 days or something, over a week. I can't really tell. The movie's timeline is a little bit like like here and there, everywhere. But I guess it's a very short while. I think everything happens within a week. So Mothra apparently goes to a waterfall and completes his transformation, and then comes back as a fully formed moth towards only the end of the film. When oh, sorry, towards the middle of the film actually. So after Godzilla travels away and Ghidorah is flying somewhere in the sky, Rodan awakens, and all the other Titans start to like get crazy over the fact that this new alpha is now on the loose. And then this what do you call this doctor is now using the orca to go around and transmit this alpha radiation from the orca to make the other titans think that the alpha is calling them, when Godzilla is not doing anything, and neither is Ghidorah, because these two just got to know that they are each other. And then the other Titans start awakening, so we get to see Rodan here, and Rodan comes in with one of the coolest entrance scenes, just destroys all of these like fighter jets and then flies in the sky to fight. And then they draw Rodan towards Ghidorah to clash. And then those two clash in the sky in this fantastic shot of them in the clouds fighting. And Godzilla is apparently in the ocean and comes out just in time to like stop Ghidorah from intervening with some of the humans' plans, and then takes Ghidorah into the ocean. So this is like almost halfway through the film, where the military comes up with another stupid idea as always, and they create this thing called an oxygen destroyer. So this is a reference to the old Godzilla films. An oxygen destroyer apparently will kill anything that breathes in oxygen, because it detonates the oxygen molecules in the body. So it's supposed to kill all living organisms in the vicinity. So it has like a 2 mile blast radius, they say, 2 kilometers or something like that. Yeah. So they detonate it, and Godzilla gets wrecked. All the fishes in the sea like just float up, but Ghidorah is completely unharmed. And Godzilla actually managed to chomp off one of Ghidorah's heads. Ghidorah has 3 heads, so one of it comes off. Godzilla gets wrecked by the oxygen destroyer, and Ghidorah is completely unharmed, flies off onto the volcano where Rodan came out of, and grows back his head immediately, fully healed, and starts to call out all the other titans as the new alpha. So the team tries to trace, like Monarch tries to trace where Godzilla is, and Godzilla's heartbeat just disappears, and then they felt that they've just lost their best chance because they killed Godzilla, but Ghidorah is unharmed. So this one comes to the interesting fact of how they realize later on that Ghidorah is actually an otherworldly being. He came somewhere from space, from far away from another galaxy or something. The way its body works and its elements work are very different, which is why it can conjure storms and all these kinds of things. They're not very detailed about it, but they just assume that it's because it's alien, the oxygen destroyer doesn't work on it. That the word doesn't work on it. So that's their conclusion. But you guys can read more about Ghidorah in like the fan wiki and stuff to get like background detailed information about things, which is kind of cool. But the movie lacked that sense of explanation. These are things that I know because I went to read them by myself, but I really hope that the film, despite all of their storytelling, because this film had a lot of characters explaining a lot of things, which was nice to see. Some people didn't really like that because they felt that, oh, why are they explaining so many things? I don't want to hear explanation, blah blah. But this is the cool parts of the film. You getting to explain about how the monsters work, or how the villain works, how the hero works, all these kinds of things. It's nice to see because we as an audience get to know what is canon and what is not in this film, so that when we watch the action unfold, we're like, oh, so that's why that's happening. That kind of a feeling comes out. So it kind of lacked that explanation. Anyway, back to the story. So the team finds out that Mothra apparently is now fully grown, and Mothra swoops over the sea to look for Godzilla, and Mothra is like hovering somewhere near there. Then they realize that they just couldn't detect Godzilla's signature because Godzilla dived deeper underground into the earth, where there's like these deep tunnels that go into like a deeper earth, like a that there's one film that actually did this journey to the center of the earth. Yeah, something like that kind of thing. So apparently Godzilla and certain titans live deep inside the earth's crust, where the humans have not explored, where it's even below the ocean actually. So there's like a second layer of ocean where Godzilla lives. And Mothra stays out there, so they know Mothra can detect his signature, so they follow her. And then that pretty thing just floating in the sky is one of the best things. So these guys use their remaining technology to kind of detect where Godzilla is deep in the ocean, go after it, and then they come up with this crazy idea of nuking Godzilla to juice him up, because they find out that Godzilla is alive, but he needs to heal. So Godzilla is actually staying next to this very highly radioactive zone to kind of heal himself. So they have an idea where if they nuke Godzilla, they may actually help him heal. And what they do is when they nuke him, uh, the nuke device apparently they come up with this very classic story of how, oh, the ship's what do you call this, offense, or like the attack system is failed, so we got to do it manually. This manual complaint you hear in every film. It's like, oh, it's broken, we got to do it manually. Then some guy has to like carry the shit and go in. So the one that does that this time is the Dr. Ishiro Serizawa, who had a much deserved ending, I would say, to him, where he took the nuke. I really wish we had more of him in the future films, but I felt they gave him a deserving ending. So he takes the nuke, he walks into this extremely high radioactive area, sacrificing himself, and meeting Godzilla face to face for the first time, and nuking the shit out of that entire area, blowing up Godzilla's home once and for all, and juicing up Godzilla to upgrade him to a whole new level. So Godzilla kind of evolves and looks a little bit different when he comes back out. He comes out with this theme music and this epic scene when he comes out of the ocean. And then Godzilla's going after Ghidorah. Ghidorah is standing on the volcano next to a cross, which apparently is shown in the camera as well, just to make it as cool as possible. It's one of the most unholy images you can ever get in a movie. It's fantastic to see. And Godzilla and Ghidorah decide to have another clash. So this Doctor Russell's the Doctor Russell's daughter, what she does is the Millie Bobby Brown, right? The actress. Her name is Madison in this film. So what Madison does is she steals the Orca to try to distract Ghidorah from controlling the other Titans. So when she uses the Orca, all the other Titans think that the Alpha has told them to retreat. So the other Titans go into hiding, and then Ghidorah is like, wait a minute, I didn't say anything like that. So Ghidorah goes to fly and find the Orca, and Ghidorah faces Madison, who, like, extremely luckily dodges every single attack from Ghidorah. I'm not complaining, but I am complaining actually. What on earth? How could you dodge everything from Ghidorah? Like, so many people die, but anyway, guess main character's gotta survive. So Madison survives all the attacks, and it was just long enough for Godzilla to show up instead of fight. So Godzilla and Ghidorah have like a final face off, and then Rodan and Mothra have like a little fight. Mothra jabs Rodan and takes Rodan out. Rodan didn't die, but Rodan takes a long time to heal, so he's like out for the fight. And then Godzilla's down from Ghidorah, but what happens is the team finds out that Godzilla, because of his supercharged state, is actually going to go thermonuclear, which means his body will start erupting like an atom bomb to kind of ease out the radiation in his body. So this is apparently something natural that Godzilla does, so it doesn't harm him in any way, but it destroys everything around him. So before Godzilla can go thermonuclear, Ghidorah tries to take Godzilla out, but in a last attempt to blast and kill Godzilla, Mothra flies in. Mothra, the best girl of this year, honestly, the best superheroine that we deserve this year. Wow, Mothra flies in, blocks, takes the full brunt of Ghidorah's gravity beams, gets destroyed, protecting Godzilla, and Mothra's radiation gets absorbed by Godzilla's body in the last second. And Ghidorah knows that something seriously bad is gonna happen. So Ghidorah like swoops towards Godzilla and starts biting Godzilla to suck out the radiation in Godzilla's body. And Godzilla is too weak to get up, so the radiation is being sucked. And then Dr. Russell decides that she's got to put an end to it. So she gives medicine to the father, and the father takes medicine away. The lady, the mother, Dr. Russell, takes the orca, turns it on, and distracts Ghidorah. She drives through the city, and then Ghidorah is forced to leave Godzilla in order to get rid of the distraction. So Ghidorah goes to like kill her, and then she falls down from the truck when Ghidorah takes a blast at her, and then she's just like, "Long live the king." And then as Ghidorah turns around, this huge, massive, burning monster, man, that's this burning Godzilla at its finest, just comes melting everything around it. This radiation and heat, just absolutely obliterating everything. And Ghidorah turns around and looks at it with like fear in its eyes for the first time, and Godzilla just goes boom in this like thermonuclear explosion, and Ghidorah tries to defend itself by using its wings, but his wings just get roasted, so Ghidorah can't fly. And then Godzilla just keeps marching towards Ghidorah as Ghidorah blasts it with like the gravity beams, and then Godzilla like explodes the second time, and Ghidorah loses two of its heads. So it's like one head left on Ghidorah, and then Godzilla just pushes it down and slams Ghidorah to the ground and blows it up. And then that's about it. Godzilla wins the fight. The last shot is of Godzilla like chewing down Ghidorah's final head, and then using atomic breath to kind of eradicate the remains of Ghidorah's last head, which means Ghidorah is destroyed. And then the mother is dead as a result of sacrificing herself. Everyone else is fine, and then the world goes back to rebuilding. Godzilla is seen standing tall with all of the other Titans coming back to bow down to Godzilla. You do not see Kong in this film. But Kong is mentioned throughout this film, like 4 or 5 times. You see a lot of Skull Island stuff, a lot of King Kong stuff. Like we get it, King Kong is coming, but they literally had to mention King Kong like in every scene. I guess it's because Kong is becoming a threat. I kind of feel that Kong is going to be like the kind of how can I put it? Like the guy who doesn't want to bow to this king because he feels like he's greater, so that's why they're going to fight or something like that. Maybe it's going to be a struggle for power, but regardless, we don't get to know the reason why exactly. But after those scenes are over, the film comes to an end, and then throughout the credits, there are teasers of the upcoming fights between the new Titans. The King Kong and Godzilla fight teases, how the humans are learning to rebuild and work together with the Titans. They discover that Titan feces apparently is an energy source. They learn to create medicine out of certain Titans. Godzilla is keeping all the other Titans in check by peacefully making sure that they don't attack people and stuff like that. All of these little things are shown in the credits. And then there's an after credit scene, which I hope you guys didn't miss because it came at the very end. The after credit scene is basically the Tywin Lannister guy that what's his name? Alan, yeah. Alan discovering that apparently one of Ghidorah's head still remained. Now, this head is not from the last fight. Godzilla absolutely destroyed Ghidorah in the last fight. The head that remained is the one that Godzilla chomped off when the oxygen destroyer was dropped. So that head was apparently fished out of the sea, and then Alan and his evil team of eco-terrorists by that head for whatever evil experiments they have, which means Ghidorah may come back in the future and probably as something a lot more terrifying. But that's it. That's about the film. I'm gonna like just write up my rating over here. Give me a sec. Oh wait, can I? I should probably turn these off. Give me a sec. All right. So this was a really nice monster movie. There wasn't that much great acting in it. There wasn't anything very like extraordinary, nothing very new in terms of ideas or something very unique. Everything was very how can I put it, casual and stuff. You kind of like can predict most of the plot, and you kind of know what's about to happen most of the time. If you're like a fan of Godzilla, this is more of a tribute film, and you will really enjoy the scenes that we got throughout this film. The images, probably the best villain of the year for me. Sorry Thanos, but Ghidorah just trumps you by everything, by the means of the theme, the appearance, the terrifying scenes they showed of him. The only thing being, of course, is that this thing is just a monster. It's not intelligent in any unique way, but it has a certain level of intelligence to comply with battle and understanding about how, it being the alpha, it has a motive. It wants to destroy the planet and these kinds of things. But the monster designs were amazing, and the only complaints that I have for the monsters is that I wish there were more wide angle shots to show like a full on fight between the monsters. But I guess they will take the criticism, and hopefully we get to see that in the King Kong versus Godzilla film that may be coming up soon in the future. But regardless, this was a fantastic film, and what they showed, like from the previous movie to this movie, is definitely an improvement. But the human characters need a lot of work to do. They were really bad. The dialogues were really bad. The jokes were really bad. Like one or two things jokes you can like chuckle, but they are like the kind of jokes that you make when you're just like drunk and fooling around with your friends and kind of things. They're not serious jokes where you could like laugh your heart out or anything like that, because those are clearly lighthearted moments where they could actually make a decent joke. And then right after Dr. Serizawa dies, this guy makes a joke saying, "I was actually a fan of the part where he says let them fight." Like, I mean, dude, the guy just died. Like, this is a serious moment. You're not supposed to be making jokes about it anymore. But the timing of certain dialogues and all were just very bad. They didn't really put enough thought into it, so I wasn't very happy with that. But for the soundtrack, the graphics, there were certain parts that could have been done a little bit better. I felt the details and the lighting on the faces of the monsters could have been a little better so that we can see them a little more holistically, like the shots, the cinematography, and the way they showed the monsters, because these things are really big, right? We understand that you're trying to show it from a human perspective of how big they actually are, but we've already established how big they are. Having like an Ultraman angle shot would have been really cool. If you guys watch Ultraman, you can see like Ultraman and the monster fighting. It's like a clean shot of the two of them fighting, and that would have made it a lot better because we get to see more of the overall action of it, and it would be less shaky cam stuff. So yeah, that's that. But the music, the monster design, and the amount of like fan service they actually gave in this film, is just a really really enjoyable movie. I highly recommend you guys watch it if you're monster movie fans. And if you guys didn't like it because you didn't get to see enough monsters, I'm kind of okay with that idea. But if you are complaining because you see too much of monsters, you guys got to rethink your life. Um, yeah, so that's about it from me. And yeah, you guys seriously should check out the theme for each of these amazing monsters. They were so well composed by Bear McCreary, and I really hope that we get more of him in the upcoming films. But yep, this for me, this is my favorite Godzilla film as of today, and it's an amazing movie. And Mothra is my new best girl. So yeah, there's that. And yep, man, I'm gonna get a poster of Ghidorah. I'm gonna like find a place to like just put it up because that thing is amazing. Whoa, guys. All right. So that's about it from me. I would have given this film a 5 out of 10 or a 4 out of 10. I really like wanted to be very critical about it, but I'm giving it a 6 because we don't get many movies of this type. This is a monster movie, which is um, something that we haven't had enough of, I guess. So in that sense, for the creativity of the action between monsters, I gave 1 point. So I made it 5 out of 10. That's the only way I can give creativity to this film because everything else that the humans do are not very creative. And I gave an extra one, which is a 6 out of 10, because of the fact that this movie actually kind of does justice to this franchise, which has been here for like, I think, more than 100 years. I can't. Let me just look for Godzilla first movie. Yeah, let me just search for that. 54. No, no, is it? Yeah, 65 years ago. 65 years ago. Godzilla came out 65 years ago. Wow, is this serious? Yeah, man. Holy. Yeah, it's a 60-year-old film. It's just like half a century plus, and this movie does justice to it. So I'm really glad they are reviving this genre, and I hope they can keep going with it because it's good fuel for them. It's good fuel for us because I mean we don't get enough of this, but they need to work on human characters for sure, for sure. So yep, that's it from me. Thanks for watching. I will probably come back with what is that other movie that came out recently? There are a few good ones, but I know Spider-Man is coming. Annabelle is coming. Annabelle might be nice to see. I like horror movies. I don't know about you guys. So anyway, the review is over. You guys can leave right now. I'm just going about my own rant about other things. But yeah, I'll let you guys know if there's anything else cool. Oh yeah, by the way, all right, the review for Godzilla is over. I'm just gonna give a quick review about Prodigy. Prodigy, all right. Hang on, let me look for a poster in the meantime. So someone suggested I watch the movie Prodigy, and the movie that I think they were talking about was the 2017 Prodigy, not the new 2019 one. So the 2017 Prodigy is about this psychologist who interviews a girl, and it's, how can I put it? It was a very simple movie just between this psychologist and a girl who is like in like a psychiatric hospital. So the story is just about the two of them um, being in an interview with each other where he's trying to investigate what on earth is wrong with her. So let me just flip this image to, whoops, did I not get it here? Oh, I see. That's another thing. All right. Anyway, let me just go back to Google. So yeah, someone suggested me to watch it, and I did watch the film, and I have to say it was quite a good movie. Like I did not expect to watch such a good film from such a simple idea. So the entire film takes place in like a single like mental institution, interview-ish style. But it turns out to be a really good film, and apparently it's how can I put it? It's a decent watch. It's not that great in terms of like the rating that I would give it. I would give it like what, a 3 or 4 out of 10. I think a 3 out of 10. But regardless, it kind of felt like a good concept that they had, and it lacked a lot of things. Like there wasn't much to do or much to see besides the way that this girl talks. So the dialogues were pretty good. The two actors performed reasonably well. The fact that she has powers and stuff eventually were revealed, and they were kind of cool. But I guess they could have done so much more with it. But regardless, I like to watch this film. I enjoyed it, but as a movie, it's unfortunately not that good of a film, and I have to be honest with that. So as I've said this before in one of my opinions video, where just because I like a really fatty pizza, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's good food. If you would ask me if it is it good food, I would say no, it's not good food. Did I like it? Yes, I liked it. So that's the idea I'm putting out here, guys. So yep, once again, thanks for joining me. Hope we can hang out in the comments. Thanks for watching, and leave your opinions, leave your thoughts, learn to discuss and not argue, learn to understand each other so that we can have fun figuring out how amazing cinema is and how these ideas and the things they show and give us actually have helped us in so many ways over the years to stay creative and stay fun. So, yep, that's it for me. Adios.